recruits wishing to join the Templar order made a vow to discover the joys of paradise. It seems odd that military men and mercenaries with big swords should make such a preposterous statement. Or was there something more to the Templars that meets the eye? A spiritual angle, perhaps? They conducted a secret ritual that culminated in a mystical revelation. After the Templars escaped persecution, they moved to Portugal and Scotland, and following a secret ritual on the summit of a sacred mountain on the spring equinox, they changed their name to Scottish Rite Freemasonry. In the Masonic third degree, for example, the candidate is lifted from a figurative grave. And the third degree itself was symbolic of an actual ritual that was performed in a restricted underground chamber in which the candidate undertook an induced out-of-body experience. Now, the initiates who successfully completed the ritual claimed that they had experienced paradise.
And here we are with UFOAZ. My name is Peggy Kane, and I'm here with Ted Lohman and Jim Nichols. Tonight we have, after a number of announcements, we have two guests here that are going to be enlightening us on not only the history of the Templars, but also the extraterrestrial connection with this particular group, as well as their own ET connections. We have Jeff Allen, who is a UFO investigator and a Templar researcher. This is the Knights Templar, which, if you're not familiar with that term, you're going to learn a little bit about it tonight. And Barbara Young, who is also a UFO investigator. She's a counselor. She has done lecturing, and she's also a teacher. And so they've come from the Phoenix area, I believe, to be with us tonight. Our two guests here have been working together for a while, I believe, and been doing a lot of research into the Knights Templar. Mm-hmm. I'm not that versed on. I know Jim has done a lot of work, study.
Some, not a lot.
Some on the Knights Templar, but maybe we could start out with just giving a little bit of your background. Maybe starting with you, Barb, how you got started with all of this.
Well, it started in childhood with external divine experiences, and then expanding to attending the University of Arizona in pre-med, and continuing with external experiences of extraterrestrial type and angelical type of communications, and marrying a physicist and mathematician, attending University of UCLA, ASC, and Berkeley, and Stanford in parapsychology research. And that parapsychology moving into naval research at the time, and astral projection experiences, and the Russian paranormal activities, and our counter to their paranormal activities.
Wow, so you've really been, and all of this had to do with this spiritual knowledge that you were
a natural intrinsic knowledge of advanced realities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. May I just ask a little bit more about, you said you had experiences of an ET nature?
Yes.
And could you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Both in communication and seeing a ship, mainly with blue lights. And the blue lights are all underneath and usually hail first, and then there's a time period when missing data but given new intrinsic knowledge. And I believe it's Pleiadian.
Mm-hmm. So you feel a connection to the Pleiadian
Very
race?
much so. Mm-hmm.
And Jeff, how about your how did you get started with all this?
I actually started after I met Barb, through my work with her, through divine meditation, hypnosis, past life regressions, etc. We discovered a UFO contact when I was as a child, and another one when I was in junior high school. So I've been rather curious about those, trying to get more information, but so far we haven't got past several blocks. And then also with the Templars, I've been rather interested through one of the past life regressions. We discovered that I was a Templar. So I was very curious about where they started, what happened to them, why that whole ideal basically was died out or was killed out. So I was very curious to know, what happened with them. That's where I was really started.
We've got a roll-in to kind of set this all up with a little bit of the Templar. So if that tape is ready in there, go ahead and punch it up and we'll view it. Can we get audio? Can we?
On the road to Jerusalem, two French nobles saw the light. Hugh de Payon and Godfrey de Saint-Omer, traveling with 6 other knights, vowed to safeguard the progress of pilgrims to the Holy Land. Reaching Jerusalem, retaken from the Muslims, they hurried to the Holy Sepulchre, the very site, as all good Christians knew, where their Savior was crucified. There, as all good pilgrims did, they etched a cross in its stones. The Christian king of Jerusalem was so impressed by their piety that he granted them quarters in his own palace, itself built, it was said, on the site of the Temple of Solomon. The band of brothers came to be called the Poor Knights of the Temple of Solomon, the Templars. They took a vow of poverty and took as their seal the image of 2 knights sharing a horse. Nurtured by the Pope himself, the new order flourished. To buy their own salvation, noblemen gave the Templars armor, horses, and land. In a ceremony both secret and sacred, Gerard committed himself to God. To guard the route to the Holy Land, the Templars built a chain of forts. To pilgrims, these whitewashed outposts gleamed like beacons. Inside, they were as austere as the knights themselves. In 1177, near the Mediterranean port of Ascalon, the Templars attacked a Muslim army under the Sultan of Egypt, the great Muslim general Salah-ad-Din. The knights won the battle, but the Muslims captured their Grand Master. The Templars' rules forbade ransom. In battle, the only honor lay in victory or death. Their leader perished. Gerard de Riefort, who had risen fast through the ranks, was appointed the new Grand Master. In 1189, he would lead the Templars at Acre, once more against Salah-ad-Din.
They fled before our swords, and we pursued them up to their very tents. While we were engaged in battle with Saladin, 5,000 knights left the city and made a sudden attack on us. We still managed to hold up against Saladin on one side and offer courageous resistance on the other, before retreating to our camp. But for God, our men were killed on that day. Among them, their Grand Master,
Gerard de Rifort. Led by the English king, Richard the Lionheart, the Christians spent the summer of 1190 trying to breach Acre. They filled in the moat and brought up battering rams. They wheeled a siege tower toward the defenders, but the walls were too strong. After 2 years of holding out, the city was defeated by starvation. In July of 1191, Acre yielded. With Acre went the Holy Land. After 2 centuries, the ordeal of driving a people from their own soil proved too great. 20,000 Templars were left in the land they fought for, their souls already departed. As an order, the Templars survived and thrived. While in Palestine, they had become skilled not only as warriors and diplomats, but as merchants. So rich had they grown that the Templars, sworn to poverty, were now bankers to Europe. Their power rivaled kingdoms. Now, the very church for which they once fought so bravely turned on them. Philip IV, King of France, feared their power and coveted their wealth. With the Pope, he plotted their ruin.
They're so outrageously proud that one can hardly look them in the face. Tell me why the Pope permits them to misuse the riches which are offered them in God's service. It is a pity, in my view, that we do not rid ourselves of them for good.
In October of 1307, on the unfortunate morning of Friday the 13th, the Templars of France were rounded up. They were tortured until they confessed. Their crime, heresy. They were burned at the stake, and the proud order of the Templars went up in smoke. The Christian Church had once condemned war until Christian soldiers fought for God. In 1314, Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, was burned at the stake. Legend says he cursed the Pope and the King. Next year, he swore, I shall bring you to stand judgment before the Almighty. Within a month, the Pope was dead. 7 months later, the King of France fell from his horse while hunting and died. Perhaps God had chosen sides.
Well, I trust you're enjoying our little history lesson tonight. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. King Philip of France, the Fourth of France, was actually applied for membership into the Templars and was rejected. And I guess from that point he decided he wasn't going to play fair with them either. So what's this got to do with UFOs? There's a number of enigmatic mysteries that go along with the Templars. As I understand it, when they were housed in the temple, in the quarters that were formerly a part of Solomon's temple, history records that there were 24 separate hoards of buried treasure, bullion, sacred vessels, as well as additional unspecified material within the vicinity of where the Templars were in fact housed. And there's always been a kind of a mystique or a mystery that the Templars kept with them sacred objects. And it's been rumored that perhaps some of the sacred objects that were part of this treasure, which were spirited away at the time, was it Pope Clement, outlawed the Templars. All the treasures and all the the special holdings that the Templars held secret, all vanished, and the Pope and the Church never got their hands on them. But it's suggested that perhaps some of these objects were in fact went back to the time of ancient Israel, the time of the Ark of the Covenant, and it's purported that some of these objects may have in fact been extraterrestrial artifacts, and or even communications devices. Now it's interesting. Over the years we've come across a film that was put together by a Templar organization in Australia that talks about the rise of the Third Reich and the involvement with secret orders of mysticism, the Thule Society, and how they had some kind of arcane knowledge that may have allowed them communication with extraterrestrials. It's really a fascinating mystery. And if you really want to get into it with any depth at all, I highly recommend this book. It's called Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And it outlines the mysteries of the Templars and their challenge to the Church of Rome. And even as late as the late 1800s, there were Templar treasures being found that still could shake the Church of Rome to its foundation. What exactly these treasures were or these secrets were is still a mystery. So, maybe, Barbara, you could help illumine some of the possible mysteries of the Templars here for us this evening.
Well, it would have to be of reason that any of the Knight Templars, and because of their mystical awareness with the divine world, would be advanced souls. And all advanced souls radiate a particular type of vibration and an emanation that extraterrestrials could pick up and honor. And in that honor, knowing that their intrinsic knowledge advanced enough to cope with the encounter, to cope with the advanced data passed to them. And as far as artifacts are concerned, I would believe in that very much. But the Knight Templars, again, the souls within their bodies containing intrinsic knowledge advanced enough to cope with the encounter.
Now, the Knights Templar were given autonomy early on when they were still in favor with the Church. They were given autonomy by the Church in that they had no, they were not obligated to any earthly government, but they could work. They worked well politically with in Islam and in Judea, so they were able to incorporate knowledge and truths from these cultures into their own belief systems.
But prior to 700 AD, the Catholic Church was very mystical. In other words, you were taught divine meditation where you closed your eyes, went into heaven, went to school in temples where you had divine teachers teach you advanced knowledge beyond what's written here, which I have reapplied with scientists at this time. So it's a very valuable experience. So I would imagine that all throughout all of history, this mystical experience, connection with extraterrestrials, would be very real.
Well, it seems like at some point there was a divergence here, where the philosophy or the belief system was that each individual had access to God, had access to divinity.
Now I turn that over to Jeff. That's his.
But
My forte.
But at some point the Catholic Church said that man could not approach God except through the Church.
Right. And that has to do with the human ego, I think, basically. The Catholic Church realized that for them to grasp and hold and have as much power as they possibly could, they have to get people to believe in the things they tell them. And the only way to do that is to cut off the contact to God. So that cuts off the power and the access. Therefore, you are somewhat subject to whatever to believe, have to believe whatever they tell you to believe.
When we were talking before, you mentioned that, and maybe Jeff, you'd like to take this one, that the Knights Templar, actually there was a split, a division between the two groups, that there was a mystical and a material group.
Right.
Could you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. In my research and through past life regressions, I've learned that the Knights Templar, not according to any history books, started actually with Jesus Christ as his bodyguards. And they therefore traveled with him and with his disciples when he died. And then through their travels, they actually came back around, ended up with the Cathars in France, and probably started that community. At that point, they continued their lives as Templars through the Crusades, doing that kind of work. And as about when the Inquisition happened, and the Pope basically told them, or basically tried to take over, as you saw in the video, cut out all of that access.
The Templars were not only great warriors as well as almost like monks themselves, but they were great builders, great masons, and within their masonry, within their building of these cathedrals that they did and castles, they also brought the feminine energy into it. They also incorporated the female, where this has never been before, whereas the female's always been outside. They weren't good enough to be in the inside, but the Templars built this within their masonry in these great big cathedrals. And not only that, but they also hid a lot of the, and this is where you come in, a lot of the secret mystical symbology within their temples, whereas you can actually, as somebody that has studied this, you can read some of these cathedrals like a book.
It is a book. It's a book, an historical book, like a time capsule. And the same information that you find in translating the sacred symbols, you'll find in translating the symbology and allegory of the hieroglyphics in Egypt. Both the same.
Is there any coincidence to? I've read this somewhere, and it was brought to my attention, and I thought, well, this is either coincidental or something's going on here. All of the cathedrals and even in the mosques are almost built like discs. You know, you go into India and in different parts, the disc shape at the top with a part, and the steeples are shaped like our ships. And if you look at the Shem that Zachariah Sitchin talks about, could there be a possible connection there?
Oh, I think very much so. And in fact, in the Louvre in France, you will find many medieval paintings with little UFOs in various parts of the paintings.
What type of a message are they trying to leave us?
Well, Earth is in a quarantine. You're here to evolve a spiritual soul from a zero personality with no attributes, will, life after life, into a completed being. In that collective consciousness, there are experiences in which, life after life, you evolve this soul. At the beginning, it's called involution, where you are not of contact with God, and in evolution, you begin growing up, becoming men or women, and you ascend to His presence.
You're talking reincarnation here. Did the
Very
church
much so.
talk this before the...
Before 700 AD, yes.
Why did they change that?
You can't sell it as easy. And there's a big responsibility attached to it.
Isn't there also more control in threatening people with everlasting damnation than, you have many opportunities to come back and learn what you need to learn?
And hell never existed. It was a part of the fear tactics to pull you in line according to the church ideal of morality. And in reality, hell might be that if I stab or find joy in killing somebody, then I have to be killed. It's my destiny to learn that, to learn how it feels and to reverse it.
Well, that's interesting because we were just having a conversation about war before we came in here, because the Templars, the Knights Templar, were warriors.
Yes.
And we were talking about how one learns through warfare, being more pacifistic. I find that like a little hard, but you mentioned that this was like a key element, the idea of a loyalty, a bravery, a fighting for a cause, and all these things. So when you're talking about killing and then having to be killed, how does karma enter into that?
When I investigated Vietnam and Korean War veterans, I found that in their reincarnation, in other words, killed during the war, 5 to 10 years returning, and then I'm working with them now as teenagers between the age of 18 and 24. If you enjoyed killing without a cause or without this magnificent feeling of for a purpose, just the enjoyment, then that was considered karma. But all of those that were killed and fought and looked eye to eye, all in destiny, all placed in a position for whatever they were to learn during that moment of time.
Your
The
studies,
value of life. And
your studies have brought you also into sacred symbols.
yes.
And we were talking a little bit, the two that I'd like to go over because, and I don't know the third one, but the first two would be the Christian symbol, the sign of the cross. And then the second one would be the Star of David, two pyramids to put together. Can you start off with maybe the cross that we have in the background that the Templars so worn, that was their insignia, basically?
Well, the cross itself is 72,000 years old, historically. And it's symbolic of the cycle of life. The beginning of your life in the human form with a third brain that gives you the ability to reason. As you pass through the 4 stages in involution and then passing up through evolution, the right side of the cross, and the lower and the higher self in the quadrant. Meaning that as you evolve, you're trying to bring the divine world and its knowledge and wisdom down into this lower self, this mind, to evolve into a complete divine being and graduate from Earth.
Okay.
Now, the Egyptian cross with the Ankh, with the oblong circle at the top, it's oblong because it's incomplete. It's saying that the cycle of life is incomplete.
And how about the Star of David?
The Star of David is symbolic, and it's intergalactic. It's the triangle. That's a cosmic type of symbol. And it means action, will, and the bottom of knowledge. Of the 3, you gain wisdom. In other words, through the emotions, we are in need of some action. So we reason what we're going to do for that action. The knowledge that we gain depends upon the quality of action that we take in this stimulation. The reaction that we learn from the action that we create is wisdom, good or bad, but usually always good.
What are some of the other in sacred symbols, like the swastika? You know, Jim, you talked a little bit about Hitler and the Third Reich. They took the swastika as their...
And inverted it.
Which is also a very ancient symbol.
They inverted it, but it's the cycle of life again.
Yeah, it
He
is.
inverted it.
The spiral.
Right, in the cycle of life.
If we could just for a moment, we talked about how the Catholic Church outlawed the Templars, and they went through their Inquisition and so forth. But the Templars weren't totally annihilated. The Templars they fragmented, went to other countries of Europe that were maybe not so friendly with the Pope. And the Templar knowledge is like they were, this small core group were like custodians of this esoteric knowledge. It wasn't just the Templars that were being stomped out. It was this esoteric knowledge that was a challenge to the Church, correct?
Correct.
And so this esoteric knowledge was resurfaced in secret societies such as Freemasonry, Rosicrucians, and so forth. You were speaking earlier about the founders of our Constitution.
Right.
And that they were, in fact, an offshoot of Templar esoteric knowledge.
The central mystical core of Templars, who ascended in the divine world have full communication with God and the Son of God, the Lord of this planet. And in that service, they were in service with the will of God to create a more positive, loving earth. And a part of that positive, loving experience is in the society itself. And they were after creating a democratic Europe, of which the Masons are still trying to achieve. Now, because of the Inquisition, the Templars, those spirits within that central core of mystical awareness, were promised a land of democracy, and that became the United States. And so they were reincarnated at the time where they could be involved with the construction of the Constitution and the whole process of creating our democratic society. That's why you have 13 original states, 12 the apostles, and then the 13th. 13 is a divine number.
Is your sense that that these men, the founders of our country, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, so forth, George Washington, we know for sure was a Freemason.
Right.
There are numerous Freemason what do I want to say? Not artifacts, but in Washington D.C. there are structures and so forth that are indicative of the Freemasons and their symbolism.
All sacred symbology. The whole sacred symbology and geometry and construction all relate to your ascending to the divine world to become an individual under the will of God. Just know that wisdom.
Now you've worked with people, you've looked at past life regressions and so forth. Do you get a sense that this was a fulfillment of vows taken by a group of men as far back as the origins of the Knights Templar?
Oh, I think it began in Jesus' time. Very much so. And I think it was promised to them and finally came to fruition. And a part of that group was John Hancock. And when I found him, John Hancock and Abraham Lincoln were exactly the same soul. And I ascended the present person who were those two characters, and he studied in the divine world for hours, in nights, in temples, and so on.
So where are we headed with this? We seem to, the idea of the Constitution and democracy in this country seems to be a little shaky right now. Where are we headed with this?
I'd like to collect up all of the Knight Templars and the mystical side to begin a new order of knowledge, to advance the world from the year 2000 forward, to bring in wisdom, open up your rights to ascend and talk to God and the Lord of this planet personally, to gain divine wisdom in all orders of philosophy, from medicine to physics to anything that you want to advance.
And what would the goal then be, other than individual enlightened souls, then coming back, and then what would the goal then be?
You mean for the individual person or for the society?
So for the society.
For the society would be advancing the society for those living within it to advance their knowledge in coping with and learning under those new aspects of life itself.
Are you talking about a real change then in our whole social structures?
I would like to see that, but the wheel of destiny is difficult to move. It's a very slow moving reality.
The founders of our nation, they came together in 1776 to found the Constitution and created the entity known as the United States. Are they all back now at this time
Yes.
to do another epical kind of
I would think
thing
so,
here?
yes.
And
In fact, the gentleman who was Teddy Roosevelt was the most decorated war hero in Vietnam, and he's fully trained, and as a mystical knight and a celestial knight, both working in the celestial world and here, advancing the world. And so is Michael, who is Abraham Lincoln, and John Hancock, and many others. But what to do with it at this time, I don't know.
We also know this is going back to mystical times. We've always heard about the Grail and Excalibur and King Arthur and the Round Table. Are all these myths? Are they all archetypes?
Real, very real. When you work with sacred symbology, the sword, the double-edged sword that even Jesus talked about, is also found in the Japanese culture and cultures all over the world. It's a sword pertaining to truth. And the Excalibur sword is stuck in a stone. In sacred symbology, the stone is your spirit. So what we have is divine truth locked up in your spirit. And for the knights, there were two. There was the real Excalibur that was material, that was created by an advanced being, of which I have found through regressions to previous lives. And the other was where you ascended into the divine world and you asked for the Excalibur sword to form in front of you. If you loosen divine truth, you reach over, pull the sword out, and then your allegiance is to God. And then he hits it with a bolt of light that goes shoo, shoo, down through your body. And your soul now radiates a different frequency. That frequency, I feel, is the frequency that acts like a beacon for extraterrestrial advanced contact. You will not be experimented on. You will be communicated with as an adult.
Go ahead.
This extraterrestrial thing and God, are they separate? Or is there a God and he's allowing these extraterrestrials to come down because our technology has come so far that we're able to accept it more as extraterrestrials instead of maybe possibly archangels? Or explain that. You said God and Excalibur and the
God,
ETs.
head of this galaxy that you're in. This galaxy, this spiral galaxy, is your school. Earth is an elementary planet of which you're here to evolve a personality and then to evolve within you divine reality so that you can become an advanced ET, graduate from Earth. And what's the other part of your question?
Well, you said when the Excalibur held up, the lightning bolt came down, and you changed molecularly so that you're easier to be picked up by ETs, so that so ETs could be able to see you, as well as then you give your allegiance to God. And a lot of times I've heard people talk in different types of religious arenas. They want to know whether or not God, Christ, how do the ETs fit into all of this?
Part of the galaxy. Part of the evolution of the galaxy.
So
Earth?
God did not top out with man.
No. No. We're out here on the edge, and you're very brand new souls here on this planet.
Edge of the galaxy.
Yes.
Is this something similar to what you were talking about here?
This was given to a very advanced spiritual being, and it is a map of the various systems within this galaxy that still practice one-on-one communication with the Creator.
Aren't we right up here
Now we
somewhere?
have what's in the center of the Star of David. And the Star of David, remember where I talked about the triangles? Action, will, knowledge, and so on? As you evolved in the 6 stages of evolution, each represents a triangle, right side up and upside down. When you complete it, you put it together and you have the Star of David. When you complete involution, you have 1 star. When you complete evolution, you have a 2nd star, and that's called the double crown. So, but that means you have ascended to God and talked to Him personally.
Yeah, but we're way out here somewhere, aren't we?
You're right up there at the right, left-hand corner.
I had a question about, well, I guess about 1.5 years ago we did an interview with Deanna Emerson, who's been studying, primarily her studies were the goddess as it relates to the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, cuneiform tablets, but she also kind of got into the Templars, and she talked to us about this Count Ajou, that who built a temple based upon geometries that he learned, came back, built this temple, and when you look at the geometry of it, which seems to be based on the 5-pointed star, it relates mathematically exactly to the face on Mars, the Cydonia area on Mars. It sort of, she felt that there was a connection, that there was ET connection with the Templars, with their geometry and their information. I don't know if you have any idea of.
Well, I think that would be very valuable knowledge. The star, the 5-point star, is symbolic of Isis, Mother Mary, the female figure of the Logos, the female figure, which in sacred symbology means wisdom. That's the act of gaining divine wisdom. In the Bible, it's all been written in code. And part of that code will inform you that once you ascend into the divine world to gain wisdom, you're complete. But you have very few female names in the Bible in the word form, because the Bible is primarily written for the mental processing of the soul itself prior to ascending and gaining divine wisdom.
So wisdom is the feminine energy, is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
There is a mother god that you have contact with. It's called the marriage of the Lamb, where the father, once you've ascended into his presence, he'll put a gold ring on your finger, and then the mother, in a very feminine hand, will put a gold ring. That means married both lower and higher, mental and spiritually, to gain wisdom.
So you're saying that intellectual knowledge is more masculine?
That's
is
all the
more
masculine names.
energy.
And the masculine attributes attained, for instance, the begets of Noah's children, those are all the attributes gained mentally because of action, will, and knowledge, his 3 sons.
Jeff, you were talking about possibly that through regressions in your knowledge that you found that possibly the Templars were bodyguards of Christ.
Right.
Now, if we even go back further into the Bible, before Jesus came, the Bible seems to be full of different ET phenomena, and we've had many shows on that, the wheel within the wheel, and it goes on and on and on. Were there Knights Templars prior to Christ, but not called Knights Templar?
Very possible. They might have had the same access that the Knights Templar did. A lot of the symbols that you were talking about, the wheel within the wheel, is again can go back to sacred symbology, and that's what Barbara was talking about. As a matter of fact, the pendant on the chest there could be interpreted as the 4 lower planes of manifestation, and the blue stone in the middle could be the mental plane.
I just got a cue that we've got 5 minutes left.
Barbara, are you now, with the information that you've gained, is your intention to teach other people what you know, help them so that they can then go out and teach?
Yes, I'm writing a textbook at this time for teachers to spread the word of how to communicate with the Creator and the Lord of this planet personally, and to gain higher wisdom and knowledge at all levels.
With the people that you've helped reach this ability to teach, have you found out that they're able to or have contact with ETs?
Some have, some haven't. Yes.
Does it matter the level that they've reached? Do you know?
I don't know.
Have you been able to take them back each at the same rate to find out that if you were to take them back a little bit further, maybe that they've had ET contact?
Yes. Some have come from the Pleiadian or the Orion constellation. Scientists come more from the Orion, like Einstein and so on. And very apt at ascending to the divine world and finding out that they're on an assignment here. The Lord of this planet sent out a word. They signed up to come to Earth to act as an idealist. In other words, bringing with them intrinsic knowledge that could go beyond what's written here.
With all of the Knights Templars that were activated at a certain time during this period of time, there should be a lot of them incarnating now.
There are.
Jim asked this question before. What do you look for? What do you see in the future? Are they mixed up? They don't know that they're Templars,
right,
and they're lost, or do you feel that where's the world going?
I would like anyone who saw the movie Brave Knight,
Braveheart.
he is a brave knight, who felt a camaraderie, who felt goosebumps when they were watching it, and so on, to write me. They're probably old knights.
Well, once again, it's it's
Where
time.
did the time go?
Well, I want to thank you very much. I wish we had more time to do this. Maybe again, Barbara, you'll come back and
Certainly.
we'll do this because I'm sure that we didn't get all the information out.